After a long day at work, it's easy to fall into the trap of wasting the evening, endlessly scrolling on your phone, binge watching shows, or procrastinating on things that truly matter. I used to struggle with this until I made some key changes that transformed my evenings into something productive, meaningful, and fulfilling. In this video, I'll share 9 things I did to stop wasting my evenings, starting with these 5 key changes. I used to feel like my evenings were just a blur, a time when I'd finish work and have no clear direction on what to do next. That feeling of drifting aimlessly was a huge time waster. To change this, I decided to establish a simple evening routine, something that would give my evenings structure and purpose without feeling overwhelming. The key was to create a balance between relaxation and productivity. First, I decided to create a routine that would start immediately after I finished work. I made it a non-negotiable habit to take a few minutes to mentally transition from work mode to home mode. Whether it was a 5-minute deep breathing exercise or a quick walk around the block, I found that breaking that work-to-home transition made me feel more present. I also started setting a consistent time for dinner and committed to eating without distractions. No phone, no TV, just eating and enjoying the food I had prepared. This small act of mindfulness made me appreciate the food and feel more centered. After dinner, I would spend the next 30 to 60 minutes doing something productive, but not work-related. It could be as simple as reading a book, organizing my desk for the next day, or working on a personal project. Having these non-work-related tasks helped my mind stay sharp without feeling the burnout that comes from constant work. Another important part of my routine was incorporating a winding down period. I realized that without a plan to relax, I'd end up staying up too late, mindlessly watching TV or scrolling through social media. I now make it a point to shut down all screens about an hour before bed. Instead, I spend that time doing calming activities like reading, journaling, or listening to music. This time allows me to prepare my mind for rest, ensuring I don't feel rushed or anxious when it's time to sleep. Now, I look forward to my evening routine because it's a blend of relaxation, personal growth, and self-care. I no longer waste my evenings feeling lost or unproductive. For the second change, I took a long, hard look at how much time I was wasting on screens. Whether it was endless social media scrolling, watching YouTube videos, or mindlessly flipping through Netflix, I realized I was spending hours each evening on my phone and in front of the TV without even enjoying it. To break free from this habit, I started by limiting my screen time. I set daily limits on my social media apps and removed distracting notifications that would often pull me back into the cycle. I also deleted apps I realized were simply not adding value to my life. With these boundaries in place, I had to find other ways to spend my time. Instead of automatically reaching for my phone, I began to replace screen time with activities that were more fulfilling. Reading became one of the best ways for me to unwind and escape. I made a goal to read for at least 30 minutes each evening, and I found that it not only kept me off my phone, but also helped me feel more relaxed and enriched. I also revisited my love for journaling, which had taken a back seat for years. Writing about my day, reflecting on my thoughts, or planning future goals gave me a sense of accomplishment. Beyond that, I started listening to podcasts or audiobooks during times when I might have been zoning out on my phone, while cooking, doing household chores, or even during my commute home. This allowed me to consume content that was both enjoyable and educational without wasting precious time on screens. Lastly, I made it a habit to spend more time outdoors. Whether it was a short walk or just sitting on my balcony, being outside without the distractions of technology felt refreshing and grounding. Even though it was tempting to just stay inside with my phone, I knew I'd feel better in the long run if I spent more time off screen. Limiting my screen time allowed me to reclaim my evenings. It felt like I had more time for the things that really mattered, building new habits, connecting with others, and, most importantly, taking care of myself. Now, instead of feeling exhausted and overstimulated by screens, I feel refreshed, productive, and more connected to the world around me. Do these expanded sections work for your video? Feel free to adjust anything or let me know if you'd like further changes. After realizing how much time I was losing in my evenings, I decided to take a more active approach by focusing on personal growth. This shift was about investing in myself, using the time after work not just to unwind, but to build a better version of myself, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Instead of simply trying to fill time, I started looking at how I could use those hours more intentionally to grow and develop. One of the first steps I took was dedicating time to reading. I had always loved reading, but I had fallen out of the habit, often making excuses about not having enough time during the day. I decided to prioritize reading in the evenings, setting aside at least 30 minutes each night. I started with books that inspired me and expanded my knowledge, whether it was about self-improvement, business, spirituality, or even fiction that allowed me to explore new worlds. At first, it wasn't easy to make time for reading, but I quickly realized how much more fulfilling it was than mindlessly scrolling through social media or watching TV. Reading not only helped me unwind, but also sparked new ideas and gave me perspectives I hadn't considered before. Whether it was learning more about personal finance or diving into a deep philosophical discussion, reading became a way for me to grow intellectually while also nurturing my imagination. In addition to reading, I wanted to make physical growth a priority as well. I had neglected exercise for years, always telling myself that I was too busy or too tired after work. But one evening, I decided to commit to at least 30 minutes of physical activity every day. It started small, some gentle stretching, a short walk, or an online yoga class. Over time, I began to feel stronger and more energized, and this sense of physical well-being started carrying over into other areas of my life. Exercise not only improved my health, but also gave me a sense of accomplishment. I no longer felt sluggish or drained by the end of the day. In fact, I noticed that working out in the evening, after a long day at work, helped me shake off any stress and left me feeling more centered. I was able to get better sleep and felt more energized the next day. But personal growth doesn't stop at physical and intellectual development. I also started working on my emotional health. I spent time reflecting on my feelings and journaling about the highs and lows of my day. Journaling became a way for me to process emotions and let go of any negativity that might have built up over the day. It also helped me set intentions for the future and gave me clarity on what I wanted out of life. I also focused on mindfulness practices like meditation. Every evening, I'd dedicate 10 to 15 minutes to meditation. This simple practice helped me clear my mind and release any tension or anxiety from the day. Meditation taught me to be present in the moment, and it helped me feel more grounded and connected to myself. It was a time to pause, take a deep breath, and tune in to my inner world. Through all of these efforts, I realized how important it is to continually grow and evolve, even in small ways. Whether it's reading a book that challenges my thinking, improving my physical health through exercise, or taking time to meditate and process emotions, every little step added up. My evenings became not just a time to unwind, but a time to invest in myself, to build a life that was fulfilling and meaningful. In doing so, I no longer felt like my evenings were slipping away. Instead, they became a space for growth, for doing the things that truly mattered to me. I learned that personal development doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It's about the small, consistent actions that build over time. It's about taking the time to reflect, learn, and improve in ways that make me feel more connected to my purpose and more aligned with the life I want to create. Investing in myself in the evenings was one of the most rewarding changes I made. I started to see the progress, not just in the form of new knowledge or improved health, but also in the way I felt about myself and the way I viewed my future. Instead of feeling frustrated with the passing hours, I felt empowered by the choices I was making in how I spent my time. Would you like to continue expanding the other chapters, or is there something specific you'd like me to adjust in this section? As my evenings began to shift toward personal growth and mindfulness, I realized there was another crucial area I had to address: how I was preparing for the next day. For years, I had fallen into the habit of rushing through my mornings, starting the day feeling unprepared and already stressed. I knew that by making a few small changes the night before, I could set myself up for a smoother and more productive day ahead. The first change I made was to start planning my tasks for the next day in the evening. Instead of waking up with a chaotic mind, unsure of where to begin, I took a few minutes before bed to map out my priorities for the following day. This simple act of listing out my tasks not only gave me a clear direction, but it also helped me relax, knowing I had a plan in place. I'd break down the day into manageable chunks, Work tasks, personal errands, and even small things like making sure I had a clean outfit ready. Having everything outlined ahead of time gave me a sense of control, making my mornings far less stressful. In addition to planning my tasks, I started setting out my clothes for the next day. The number of mornings I'd wasted rummaging through my closet, trying to figure out what to wear, was astounding. So I began taking 5 minutes each evening to pick out my outfit. This tiny adjustment saved me precious time in the morning and allowed me to start the day feeling confident and ready to take on whatever came my way. It might seem like a small thing, but those little moments of preparation make a big difference in how I approach the start of my day. Another important habit I adopted was preparing my meals in advance. I'd spend some time in the evening making sure I had a healthy breakfast ready to go or prepping my lunch for the next day. This small act of meal prep meant I didn't have to worry about it in the morning when I was already focused on other tasks. It also ensured that I was making healthier choices, as I wasn't rushed into grabbing fast food or unhealthy snacks when I didn't have time to think. Taking this time each evening to prepare mentally and physically for the next day gave me a profound sense of calm and control. I found that when I woke up, I felt more focused and grounded because I had already taken steps to make my day more manageable. I was no longer scrambling around, trying to get things together last minute. Instead, I could wake up with intention, knowing exactly what I needed to do and having the tools in place to make it happen. In the past, my evenings felt like the time where everything slowed down and I could finally relax. But now, I realized that by setting myself up for success the night before, I was investing in my future self. And the impact was far-reaching. My mornings became more productive, my days felt less stressful, and I started to approach each day with a sense of control and calm. Along with this preparation, I also began to focus more on building stronger connections in my life. I realized that after a long workday, it was easy to retreat into myself, either zoning out in front of the TV or spending hours on my phone. But deep down, I knew that what I truly craved was connection with the people I cared about. So, I began to make a conscious effort to prioritize quality time with my loved ones during the evenings. One of the first things I did was establish a no phones at the dinner table rule. It might sound simple, but it made a huge difference. I made it a point to sit down and truly engage with the people I was eating with, whether it was family, a partner, or a close friend. Instead of mindlessly scrolling on my phone or checking my work emails, I focused on being present, listening, and sharing. This small change made me feel more connected to the people around me and created a space for meaningful conversations that didn't revolve around technology. Beyond dinner time, I also carved out time to check in with loved ones in other ways. I started calling my parents or catching up with friends I hadn't spoken to in a while. It didn't have to be a long conversation, but just hearing someone's voice or exchanging a few updates helped me feel more grounded and connected. Those small moments of connection, even if brief, added so much value to my evenings. Spending time with my partner also became a priority. After a busy day, it was easy to fall into the trap of being physically present but mentally distracted. But I realized that quality time with a loved one is about more than just sharing a space together. It's about being intentional with your attention. So, we began to have intentional, unplugged time, where we'd set aside our phones and truly focus on each other. We'd play a game, take a walk, or simply talk about our day. These moments of connection not only strengthened our relationship, but also left me feeling emotionally fulfilled by the end of the evening. Lastly, I focused on creating time for self-care as part of this connection, not just with others, but with myself. I began incorporating small rituals into my evenings that allowed me to recharge and nourish my body and mind. Whether it was taking a warm bath, practicing a skincare routine, or simply sitting with a cup of tea and reflecting on my day, these moments of solitude helped me reconnect with myself and feel at peace before bed. It was a reminder that, while connecting with others is important, connecting with myself is just as essential. What I found was that when I made a conscious effort to spend quality time with others, whether it was family, friends, or my partner, I didn't feel as lonely or disconnected after a long workday. In fact, it became one of the most rewarding parts of my evenings. These small but meaningful interactions reminded me that I wasn't alone in my journey, and that the people I care about are an essential part of my life. By combining intentional preparation for the next day and nurturing my relationships, my evenings no longer felt like a time of wasted potential. They became a time to nourish my body, my mind, and my connections, all while laying the foundation for a productive tomorrow. These changes added a deeper sense of purpose to my evenings, transforming them from idle hours to valuable moments of growth, connection, and self-care. Would you like me to continue further, or does this work well for your video? Let me know if you'd like any adjustments.